was a great game on Saturday, and really, really proud that the guys this time of the year are sitting here at 9-0. It's the second time that we've been 9-0 since, including 2005 and this year, and it's only happened 9 times in the 117 years at the University of Texas that a team would start 9-0. Last time before 2005 was 1983, so it's not something to take for granted, and we're really proud of it and proud of our guys. We're also proud that we could have an appreciation for our veterans. I didn't really know until this weekend that the stadium was named Memorial Stadium in honor of 3 football players that died in the war, and that's how our stadium was named. And there's a plaque on the left side as you walk in the stadium from the north end zone, the red zone, and I showed that to our players this week. So it's also good that we knew that. And I thought it was also a day to appreciate our military, not just our veterans. The pilots that did the flyover, there were 10 of them, ate pregame meal with our team, which is very unique. We don't have anybody eat pregame meal, and they were at the hotel, and we just thought it would be really nice for them to come in and eat. And 2 of them were Texas graduates, and we asked one of the Texas graduates to stand up and talk to our team briefly about preparing for a mission. And it was just amazing that how our military prepares and how football teams prepare for everything that they do each day, understanding that theirs is much more important because it's life and death and about our freedom, and ours is a game. We also we're honored to honor our veterans, but we also want to keep the folks in Fort Hood, that the families and friends that lost relatives and friends, that we want to keep them in our hearts and make sure that we continue our prayers in their light, and because a lot of people move on in their lives, and that's an awful situation up there, and one that is very, very difficult for them to handle, I'm sure. We're also excited to be 2 in the country and in the top 3 in the BCS. Our job is to continue to win, and it's to do the best we can do each week to keep our eye on our goal and not be distracted by individual honors and not be distracted by the BCS or the computers or the polls and what people like to talk about all the time. We're back at Baylor this week, and this gives us a chance to get back to the goal of winning the Big 12 South. And right now that's all we're interested in and what we can do work on this week. We feel like we're in a great position. If you're in one of the top 2 or 3 spots in the BCS and 2 teams above you play each other, we felt like last week being second or being third really didn't make any difference to us, and where we are, we just need to keep playing at a very high level. Defense played great again until we substituted in the fourth quarter. Our defense had held Central Florida under 100 yards of total offense. We're number 1 in the country in total defense right now, giving up 230 yards a game. We're number 1 in rush defense, giving up 55.3 yards per game. Maybe more importantly, we're number 8th in the country in scoring defense, and we're leading the country in third down efficiency. 23% of the time is what we're allowing them to make. In fact, Central Florida only made 2 of 12 third down situations, which really was good for us. Sergio Kendall Lamar Houston played at a very high level. We had 7 sacks on defense during the game, 9 pressures, and 13 quarterback hits. So we feel like that we're continuing to improve on the pressure of the passer, and that's what we've got to do to make sure we can continue to win. But our pass efficiency defense is so much better than it's been in the past because of the pressure we're putting on up front and the interceptions that we've had. We're 5th in the country in pass efficiency defense. There were 26 snaps of their 37 snaps on Saturday that went for 0 yards. 12 of those 26 were runs. The only thing that we needed to do differently on defense Saturday was force more turnovers. And we didn't strip a ball. We had the one fumble that Shockey Brown recovered, and we had a late hit on the quarterback, which was a good call that nullified it. Offensively, we continued to be very effective. Our pass protection was good, and Colt and Jordan were as good a combination as anybody has ever seen in college football on Saturday. It was fun to watch them, and since the halftime at OU, Colt's hitting over 80% of his passes. So he's really doing better right now than at any time he did last year. And he's on fire, and we need to keep him going the same way. We were inconsistent in our running game. We were really good in short yardage and goal line, which is what we want to do. The one play off of the goal line that Cody saved us, it would have been a safety if he hadn't fought his way out. was because we had a bust up front, and we missed the assignment and nearly got ourselves in trouble. But I think as coaches, we can do a better job of helping the kids in that situation. We threw it out of there and got a first down, and we had an 88-yard touchdown drive, 99 yards total, 88-yard touchdown play off of that series. So we feel like that, like at Tech last year, you can't get in the eye and hand the ball to an eye tailback when you're on the 6-inch line and not expect to not have an opportunity to get a safety. So we think that's our fault as coaches, and really there was a bust up front, but the kids really didn't do a bad job. That was more on us as coaches than them, other than the one player that busted it, obviously. Cody Johnson will start at tailback this week. He's been most productive, and we're excited about him getting better each week. Offense had 3 drives of over 80 yards. They had an 88-yard drive, an 87-yard drive, and a 99-yard drive, which is very, very hard to do. And they were also successful on 10 of 14 snaps on third down. So they stayed on the field as our defense was getting us off the field. They only had 1 turnover, but we didn't gain one. So we didn't win in the turnover ratio, even though the defense did have 1 fourth down stop, and we count that as a turnover internally. Colt just needs 1 more win to tie for the most wins in the history of a quarterback in the history of college football, which is just phenomenal. And right now we're 3rd in the nation in scoring offense with 41 points a game. Our kicking game was not as good as we need for it to be. Kickoff coverage was great. We had 2 tackles inside the 20-yard line. They only averaged 19.8 yards a return. We had 2 kicks out, so they were touchbacks. But we had 1 very poor kick, and therefore we covered it poorly and gave them a chance to get good field position. We only had 1 opportunity for a kickoff return, and we botched it. It wasn't very good. Extra points, we were 5 out of 5, but we missed the field goal to start the game, and it's very important for us when we defer, our defense stops Central Florida. We drive down and had an opportunity to score first, which is huge. When you look at the number of times when we've scored first, we've won, and we missed the field goal. And our punting was inconsistent. We had 1 great punt and 1 very poor punt, and our punt return was not up to our standard. We had 1 punt return that was decent, but we didn't get close to blocking one. So you come out, and what happened is we didn't score on special teams. We didn't get a turnover on special teams, and we really lost field position because they had a 50-yard punt and a 70-yard punt that set us back. So we've got to do a better job in their special teams. We bragged on them. They were as good as anybody in the country in the last 2 weeks. As a group, they've dropped off. We do lead the nation in scoring differential. We're averaging 41 points a game and giving up 12, and that's why we're undefeated. We are 2nd in the country in kickoff returns. We just need to do a better job. We're 7th in the country in turnover margin. And most importantly, we came out of the game healthy. Aaron Williams will be back full speed this week, and he should practice on Tuesday. And as of right now, Mason Walters and Calvin Howell will be the only 2 that will not play this week. So they continue to be out, but everybody else should be ready to play. And now we've got the road game with Baylor. Baylor's playing at the highest level of any Baylor team that we've seen since we've been here. After losing Robert Griffin early in the season, they've come back now, and they've played really well the last 2 weeks. They had a 20-10 game with Nebraska that was really close. And then last week just lit up a Missouri defense for 40 points and threw for 427 yards. And this is a fun game for us because it's always competitive, but it's a chance for our fans that don't have tickets at the University of Texas and can't get them to drive up to Waco and fill those stands. And I always love our crowd at Baylor. It's just it's fun to have them up there. Questions?
Coach, how did Baylor put 40 on Missouri? Are they running the ball? Are they passing the ball exclusively now, or are they?
They're doing both, but they'll have some new wrinkles every week. But they've got 2 great receivers in Gaddis and Wright. They can fly. And the quarterback's playing at a real high level. You got to give them credit for losing Robert Griffin, changing their offense completely, getting away from the run some, but throwing for over 400 yards.
You know, Coach, Baylor's been down a little bit, but if you look especially at the defense, they have impact players at every level of the defense. This is not your father's Baylor that you're looking at. Talking to your team as you get ready to go, they see that on film, don't they?
Yes, Jordan Lake is as good a safety as there is in the country. Number 21 for our fans to watch. He's been an unbelievable player in their time. He's out of Houston, and he's a guy that can run and hit you and plays tough and aggressive and smart, but they're bigger and better looking up front. They can make plays. They got the big transfer from Penn State in last year that's an impact player for them, and they're playing much better defense too. than they have, and they're good in the kicking game. Their punter's up for the Ray Guy Award. All of their specialists are back from last year, and obviously when you lose an impact player like Roberts, you go into a little shock. You have a little trouble figuring out what you got to do to change. And all of a sudden, they've done a great job of finding their niche here 2 weeks before we played them. So we're excited because it should be a great challenge for us.
Like you said, Colt and Jordan were playing the best they had. But Nick Lawrence won Big 12 Player of the Week. Does that just tell you where he is as a quarterback? He was the third string coming into the year. How much better has he gotten?
Yes, he was a third teamer, and the second teamer got hurt his shoulder, and he took advantage of that. And I saw him earlier in the year. I can't remember who we were playing, but they had an afternoon game with Oklahoma, and he came out there and he looked great. And he's tough and threw the ball, and they're going to go for fourth downs. They're going to have trick plays. They'll just leave everything laying out there. But he's very, very accurate, and their two skill players are as good as anybody in the league. We knew that going in, that what Art has done is upgraded their skill level and their speed. And when you had Robert, he was able to use play action and hit those two guys on screens and hit them deep. And now they're doing the same, but they're doing it from more one back and multiple sets. Yes, Art's he is the great high school football coach in the state of Texas when he won championships at Stephenville. He progressed to Texas Tech as an assistant. He went from there to an offensive assistant, went to Houston and did a tremendous job there. And Kevin Sumlin's done a great job, but Art recruited some of those guys, the speed guys, because their offense is as good as anybody in the country, and he'll do the same thing at Baylor. I think he's the perfect hire for them. Yeah, Coach Browse used to work our camp when we first got here, and then obviously we signed Kendall, his son, who's on that staff. Three of our ex-players and coaches are on their staff. Bo Trahan, Kendall Browse, and Casey Hornett was a graduate assistant for us on defense. So we've got great respect for their staff. Brian Norwood, I think he played for Dwayne at Arizona, and he's their defensive coordinator. So we have a really good respect and good relationship with their guys, and they've done a great job recruiting. I think that's the thing you can see. They've upgraded their entire football team, and when you walk on the field, there were some years where you'd walk out there and look at their guys and your guys and say, whoo, boy, they can't run very fast. And when you watch this film, it gets your attention. They've got good players.
Can you talk about, with Cody getting the start and obviously getting more playing time now, can you talk about the challenge of trying to effectively throw the ball with him in the game and keep other defenses on him?
Yes, he can do that now. He's gotten his weight down, his confidence is up, he's protecting the ball, and just like the little check down that we hit him on Saturday, which was about a 4-yard play, he turned it into a 14-yard play. So we feel like he can do all those things. We're not asking our backs to get deep very often, and we'll still have Fozzie in there. We're going to bracket Fozzie and Trey Newton together and let Trey's healthy again, so let him have another run at it. And so we're just trying to find the right combinations. And what we've said across the board is that we want the guys that produce the most in the games to be the one to have the first chance to run out there. Now, they'll still all play, but just like James Kirkendall, we'll start with Malcolm Williams and Jordan this weekend, but we will play Marquise Goodwin and John Childs a whole lot. So we're still rotating those guys and trying to keep fresh guys in the game. John Childs is getting better. Marquise learns something every week, and Marquise and John had the longest or the furthest to come because John hadn't played receiver and Marquise was brand new and wasn't even around this summer. So they're learning each day, and hopefully we'll continue to get better.
Coach, you talked about this being a fun game, and you guys usually play well against them. Can you explain just over the years why it's been so long?
Well, we had better players early. When we got here, Baylor's. I'm on our fourth Baylor coach. When you think about that, because they haven't had continuity in what they've been able to do, and that really affects your recruiting. And Art will stay there and do a really good job there. So I think we'll see a different Baylor from now on and the rest of the time that Art stays, because they're just more talented, and he has a great relationship with the high school coaches, so he can get the players. And they've already beaten more Big 12 teams than Baylor had beaten there in a while. So it's a different attitude. He has a confidence and a swagger about him, about high school football in this state. They're going to win with Texas kids, and he'll do a great job. So I think that's the biggest thing for us. We're going in this game with great respect. It is. The hardest thing last week is not playing Tech in that slot was different for us. But a lot of the teams across the country stick a game that's not in their conference about now just to kind of break up the conference race a little bit for them and take a little breather. Central Florida's pretty good. So you look at them, they're one of the best teams in their league, and they are year in and year out. And watching them on Sunday night, they didn't play well against Marshall at all and still won, and I thought that's awful because our kids are going to sit there and watch every play, and I'm going to go in tomorrow and say, now, they're a pretty good team and all this, and they're going to say, yeah, Coach, and our fans are the same way. So I felt like that the preparation was pretty good and we played well, but this will be exciting for us. Our goal is the Big 12 South, so we can play in Jerry Jones Stadium for the Big 12 championship. Our dream is the national championship, and this gets right back to the middle of our goals, and this will be very, very important to our kids. But I thought they handled it pretty well last week. You look around the country, I still don't understand. Our guys played really hard. We didn't have as much emotion as we would have for an Oklahoma State or somebody else, and I get that. Because when you look around the country, it's just not happening with teams and kids, and there's sometimes they get mentally tired, and that was the week that we played Tech last year, and it's a tough run this time of the year. They get worn out, so we have to balance how to pick them back up. And I think watching Baylor watching them play well against Nebraska, watching them win against Missouri, will really help them get excited about this game.
Coach, last week you talked about the fans and wanted to challenge them for an early game. You just mentioned the players maybe not coming out with as much fire. What about the fans? What did you think of their performance?
I don't get to, I've got the headsets on. I don't get to hear them much. I was glad they came. Somebody said some of the students came in late and they were there, but I thought our fans came and I thought they did good. When we're not, fans are fans. And when you don't make plays, fans are going to sit on their hands. It's always amazed me. We need the fans when we're in trouble, and they're all mad. You don't need them when you're blowing people out and you're making great plays and they're all happy. So what we've got to do, and our fans have been great in some times where we've been in trouble. And that's I go back to that Oklahoma State game when we were down 35-14 at halftime. They gave us a standing ovation. I thought it was a setup. I kept thinking, okay, something wrong here. This isn't us. This isn't right. But our fans have done great. And I thought there were times Saturday where they really tried, especially for the defense and defensive stands and offense. It was just a day of big plays. And it was fun. But I really felt like that they came and they tried, and I thought they were like our team. I don't think it was our best effort. I don't think they were at the height of their enthusiasm, but I thought they came and tried and did well. So and we expect the road crowds are great. When somebody takes time to go on the road and spend their money and their effort to drive and get it, so I'm expecting a great crowd on Saturday. I love walking out in Waco and seeing that many Texas fans there.
Matt, can you talk about James? And early on, he was very productive and kind of hit a little bit of a wall. How important not only to be productive, but for him to, or any guy that's not hanging their head and staying in mentally?
I thought we probably worked James too much in preseason. Receivers run all the time in this heat, and Jordan came out because he had a little sore leg and didn't spend as much time out there. And so I'm not sure that James didn't hit a wall after Wyoming. He just got tired a little bit, and we just need to get him some rest and shake it up a little bit. And he played great on Saturday. He was one of the great performers during the ball game with his blocking, because our downfield blocking was as good Saturday with receivers as we've had, and we lost a little edge there. So we feel like now that when Marquise and John, who haven't got as much experience, hit a little wall, we can give them a little more break. But I think James is ready now with Malcolm to make the stretch run here. Malcolm's about 220 pounds, and it's amazing to me that he's on kickoff coverage, he's on punt coverage team, he's on the kickoff return team and playing 35, 40-something plays a game and making a difference. And I walked into Oscar Giles and tried to get him off the kickoff coverage team, and it was like trying to steal a child or something. I mean, he said, Coach, he's an impact player. He's doing that. And I said, yeah, we're about to wear him out. We can't do that. But good for Malcolm, too, that he's doing so well.
this will have to get ready for this, maybe this will have to get ready for that.
I do think since we're down the road, if Robert had gotten hurt last week, it would have been really difficult for us. But we've got a pretty good feel of what they're going to do. Now, Art does a good job of putting new wrinkles in. So they'll have a couple of tick plays. And again, Geddes and Wright can run as fast as anybody in the country. So those two guys can play anywhere. And it'll be interesting with the way we like to play man and blitz. And they'll have formations all over the place. It'll be interesting to see if we can hold up with those two great speed receivers. They'll be as good as any two receivers we've played this year.
Coach, when you got to the house Saturday, what did you learn watching college football Saturday night?
That not everybody gets ready to play. I mean, I was sometimes when we don't play perfect, like I left the stadium mad at our special teams. I left the stadium mad that we didn't run the ball off the goal line. And then you get home, you watch the film, and really, short yards and goal line's the only time we did run it good. I mean, we ran it great except for that one play off the goal line. We didn't run it well on first and second down. That's where we're 2nd and 10 and 3rd and 10. And I was mad at our defense for not getting turnovers. And then I go home and turn on about 5 games, and I wanted to text all of our players and kiss them and say, hey, thank you. 9-0 is good. And I think what you've got to do in our position is appreciate the 9-0 and understand that we've got to get better. And let's don't walk around with our chest stuck out and act like we played perfect. We didn't. And we still haven't played our best game. But our offense is now getting better. Our defense is continuing to play at a high level, and now our special teams has dropped off a little bit. So it's my job and our coach's job and our players' responsibility to pick all those phases up and go back to trying to get our best game.
Mac, how different is this year in terms of when you look at the top 6? It's Florida, Alabama, Texas that are the big programs, and then TCU, Boise State, and Cincinnati that just haven't been here. They're all kind of mixed in.
There's a lot of confusion in my mind in the BCS now about that we've kind of transitioned over time with the non-BCS schools. And I think there's still confusion on everybody's part. Well, where does it fit? And I still don't like the way it's set up because I don't think we should have non-BCS schools. I think it's demeaning to those schools that are playing really well. You should give all 3 of those schools great credit for what they're doing. And at the same time, I don't know that they're treated the same as some of the other schools because you look at strength of schedule, you look at them playing each week. Is there as much scrutiny on one of those teams as there is Texas, Alabama, and Florida each week if you don't play as well? I don't know. So I think we're all trying to figure out in the end what the BCS is really doing again. And I heard Kirk Herbstreit yesterday say something that I've always felt to be true. The BCS is about 1 and 2. It really doesn't care about the rest of them because it doesn't even really place the schools that are in the top of the BCS in BCS bowls. The conferences do that. So if we realistically look at it, they're only trying to place the 2 best teams against each other in the end, and really 4, 5, and 6 don't make any difference. It's a pride thing. And it might for a non-BCS school. It would for Notre Dame because I think I saw the other day if Notre Dame's in the top 14, they get in. So when you look at how this was designed, none of us were asked, so it's really hard to figure out. You know, I'm still trying to get some of those computers to call me back, and they will not answer my call. So I don't know those, and I haven't seen them at any of the games again this year. So
Okay, Coach.
okay.